voice line?
Yes. I don't know. I just do that every time. Oh.
Did I get you?
Like this.
So you wake up, you go to school just like every other day. Upon walking into school, there's a prayer being read over the announcements. You hear a simple little prayer asking for God's blessing. Shaking it off, you get to class and everyone seems to be praying along with it. By this point, you are visibly confused, but you sit down and go along with it anyway. As the prayer comes to a close, you notice that a shy girl sitting next to you just sat there uncomfortably throughout the entire prayer. When you ask her why she didn't pray, she says, "I don't believe in God." Or maybe she believes in a different God than the school chose to pray to. It seems unfair that she must be subjected to take part in this type of prayer when it goes against her personal beliefs. I share this hypothetical story to open your eyes to the notion that prayer should not be allowed in public schools. Being a Christian, I read the Bible often, and I say a little prayer every time my head hits the pillow, before meals, and pretty much any time that I feel it necessary. I say this to show that since I am a praying individual myself, by fighting against prayer in public schools, I am in no way fighting against religion or attacking your personal beliefs. I am simply suggesting that we begin to think about the question of prayer in public schools. According to Robert Alley in his 1994 book, School Prayer, this issue has been flooding our newspaper and television stations since the abolition of prayer in public schools in 1962. This issue is relevant to you because as a United States citizen, it is important to establish an opinion on highly controversial issues such as this one. After much research, I have come to the conclusion that prayer in public schools should continue to not be allowed. Throughout the course of my speech, I will offer 3 reasons why one should be against prayer in public schools, as well as discuss an opposing opinion. Prayer in public schools should not be allowed because it violates the United States Constitution, it does not pass the Lemon Test, and finally, it has the ability to offend other individuals. The first reason one should be against prayer in public schools is because it violates the United States Constitution. Through my research, I have found the most important case when discussing prayer in public schools is Engel v. Vitale. In 1962, the Union Free School District in New Hyde Park, New York, began each day with a prayer called the Regent's Prayer. This prayer acknowledged the community's dependence on God and asked for His blessing. Shortly after this practice began, students' parents began to complain that this prayer didn't comply with their personal beliefs. According to the Legal Information Institute of Cornell Law School in 1962, the United States Supreme Court ruled that state officials may not compose an official state prayer and require that it be recited in the public schools of the state. The United States Supreme Court had the ability to rule that prayer in public schools is unconstitutional due to the Establishment Clause. The OIA's project at ITT Chicago Kent College of Law states that this case was the first in a series of cases in which the court used the Establishment Clause to eliminate religious activities of all sorts. Now you may be asking yourselves, what exactly is this Establishment Clause? The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Plainly put, this means that Congress isn't allowed to establish any type of religion. Since public schools like the Union Free School District are a government institution, their policies must comply with the Establishment Clause. I would now like to show you a quick clip of a debate that shows a civil rights attorney and a priest debating on what they think the Establishment Clause actually has to say about religion.
The Constitution doesn't actually protect your rights.
What does the Constitution say about religion? It says it shall not establish one religion over another, and there should be no law passed to prohibit the free exercise of religion.
Right.
Which just sounds to me like free exercise of religion.
Well, it protects, the Established Clause is meant to protect and secure religious liberty. The flip side of that is the right not to have to engage in an act of worship if somebody finds it personally offensive. It's meant to protect all of us. Now, would you have the same point of...
Despite this evidence, some people still believe that their right to pray in public schools is guaranteed under the United States Constitution. But as I just displayed to you, due to the ruling of the Engel v. Vitale case in the First Amendment of the United States, prayer in public school is indeed considered unconstitutional. The unconstitutionality of prayer is just one of the reasons that it should not be allowed in public schools. This brings me to my second point, that prayer in public schools does not pass the Lemon Test. As a way of testing the Establishment Clause, the 1971 case Lemon v. Kurtzman established the Lemon Test, which is used to discuss religion. The excerpt from the 2003 journal Law and Society Review by Herbie Kritzer and Mark Richards explains in detail the three parts that all must be met in order for the religious practice to pass the Lemon Test, or in other words, to be constitutional. The practice must have secular legislative purpose. Next, it is a principal or primary effect must be one that neither advances nor inhibits religion. And finally, the statute must not foster an excessive government entanglement with religion. With this knowledge, prayer in public schools does not pass the Lemon Test for two main reasons. The first reason is that prayer serves as a religious purpose instead of a secular purpose. The second reason is that prayer constitutes excessive entanglement of government and religion. According to the Legal Information Institute of Cornell Law School, in 1962, public schools are under government regulation, and as soon as religious practices such as prayer are brought into the picture, they violate the third rule of the Lemon Test. Now, although the first two reasons I presented to you as why prayer should not be allowed in public schools were based on laws, my final reason is a little more personal. The third reason is that prayer has the ability to offend individuals. A study done by the U.S. Census Bureau and the Statistical Abstract of the United States in 2008 shows that there are over 40 different religious groups in the United States alone. Due to this statistic, one can assume that students in public schools vary in religious affiliation if they are even religious at all. Recognizing each student in their individual prayer would be a difficult task for schools. For example, in the Islam religion, Muslims perform up to 5 formal prayers every day, including pre-dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. Saeed Nassar stresses the importance of performing these 5 prayers in his 2003 book, Islam, Religion, History, and Civilization. In order for Muslim students to pray in school, they would have to pray multiple times during the school day, where students of another religious groups may not pray as much. By allowing all of these prayers to take place, there are sure to be students that don't feel comfortable praying in school setting, students with no religious beliefs, or students that practice in a different religion than their friends. These immense differences in these student demographics can create unnecessary tension and can lead to offending students. The offensive nature of prayer in public schools is the final reason why prayer should continue to be banned. Throughout the evidence I have displayed for you, I hope you can agree that prayer in public schools is simply inappropriate. Although the girl in my story above was fictional, there are still many students attending our public schools that have different beliefs just like her. We must think of these students when contemplating this controversial topic. Prayer in public schools should not be allowed because it goes against the U.S. Constitution, it does not pass the Lemon Test, and finally, it can be found offensive to others. So I ask all of you to respect all of the various religions or simply just different beliefs, just as you would want others to respect your own. Thank you.
Wait, you didn't give me.
Oh, sorry.
Go down.
Just a bit. Yeah. How long is it?